and welcome to another episode of Tech Hour. My name is Simone Smith Bean, Managing Director of SBC Corporate Services. And today I'm so excited to welcome our guest, Halam Hope, educator and consultant in the blockchain industry. Welcome to our show, Halam.
Thank you very much, Simon. It's a privilege to be here.
So, one of our the topic for today is educating the Caribbean on the blockchain. But in light of all of the news of FTX and Binance's impending sale, I wanted to get your thoughts on what has happened this week, and what do you think it means for the crypto industry now looking at the way in which crypto is trading at the moment.
Well, I think there were those analysts and experts who were saying that the price of Bitcoin was going to come down, and there were all these speculative figures like 12,000 and 9,000 and that sort of thing. But clearly, the FTX issue, uh, potential solvency of that company, is like something that totally new. It came out of the blue and caught a lot of people by surprise, even though many were still hoping and they had their funds there waiting for the price of Bitcoin to come down. And certainly they would have liked Bitcoin to come down again to $17,000 as it did, but perhaps not in the context of what we've seen with FTX. I'm still unclear as to what is really responsible for the demise and this sudden approaching insolvency situation, because we know that SBA, Sam Bankman-Fried, and FTX and Binance were clearly in competition. I mean, that's nothing unusual. They're two of the top dogs, and they're looking to take market share and take food out of each other's mouths, and that's kind of normal competition in the market situation. And I cannot see how Sam would want to be running his business so badly, like as in a rug pull, when it's making money, because it was making money, and to reach like number three and number two, that sort of thing. And why would he want to see that his own firm collapse when it has put millions of dollars into his pocket, and it has done so very well? And they set up their headquarters in the Bahamas. So I'm quite I'm not on with the conspiracy theory that suggests that there might have been something planned at his end. I think it's probably an overexposure to the FTT coin, and clearly it's linked to Almeida and their situation, which seems to have declined quite appreciably. And then, of course, you saw information being leaked to the market, and when information gets leaked to the market, then it's not a surprise that people will say, this doesn't look very safe for me. Let me sell my FTT coins and get out while the going is good. And then we have this run on the price of the coin. So it has been, I would say, a real sudden turnaround. 1 minute Sam is saying, yeah, we got enough funds to back everything. Just as Celsius and others said, yeah, don't worry about it. We got enough money. You got millions and millions and millions about this thing. And then what it shows that, in truth and fact, they were in major problems and they didn't have enough backing really to support what they were doing. So I think it's not exactly, I don't think it's a very good thing for the market, for the industry, and for development. But let's face it, we are still a 13-year-old teenager riding around on a bicycle, and we still have not developed as robust and as steady a market as we would like. But at the same time, tremendous things are happening. There's lots of adoption. I mean, the fundamentals are growing and growing and growing. That blockchain and cryptocurrency is here to stay. So I'm very optimistic for the future, and I just hope let's see what happens now between Binance and CC and FTX.
I definitely agree with you that the future is bright for crypto, even in light of all of these I would say deaths of some of these coins like Luna and now FTX, FTT. I mean, on the weekend, FTT was trading at $27 and now it's trading at 6. And so, with all of the news that have come out, you one begs to wonder, how is it that you are making money and you're doing really well, but the companies that are connected to your company are mostly liquidized by the same coin that you're trading on your platform. And now Binance jumps up and says they want to sell their coin position. They own the largest coin position in the company. And then 2 days later, you're saying, well, let's sell. So I mean, it's very interesting times. I'm sure the Securities Commission in the Bahamas is on overdrive at the moment, trying to figure out or where things have happened and lied. But certainly regulation is around the corner, in my opinion, as well. I think that this just shows that it's more very important for you to do for us to have additional CDD on these entrances into these markets, especially when they're coming into the Caribbean to set up shop, because a number of people are employed, and when they fail, that means our people are no longer employed, and that causes a knock on effect to our economy. So, very important position to look into and make sure we know more about. So, yes, I think you mentioned that you think that the crypto market is very bright. Now, the Caribbean has come a very long way when it comes to understanding blockchain technology and getting into cryptocurrency. How have you been able to educate the people in Barbados about the industry and what they should be, well, what they should know, especially in light of these investment issues that we're facing at the moment?
Okay, so I got bitten by the bug, I would say October 15th, 2017. So once you're bitten by the bug, it's like a day and night thing. You're just starting to think all what's happening globally. You're trying to keep abreast of it. Technology is changing so rapidly. And clearly you see an opportunity, many opportunities, especially for young people and those who are from older generation, but have young minds and they're willing to open in their mindsets and that sort of thing. All right. So I would say that in Barbados, yes, there is growing interest, but there's still a lot of people still don't. You're going to ask them, what is blockchain? Have you heard of blockchain? Do you know what Bitcoin is? And they will say no, right? So there's a huge amount of work to do. But more and more organizations have been coming to me and to my colleagues over the years and saying, listen, we want to know more about this. We're hearing about this. We want to understand this a bit more. All right. So we've done a lot of work. We've educated over 1,000 students, even in Africa and other places. Organizations have come and asked us, well, can you talk to our young people about this? But we've done a lot of work as well with mature organizations. We've spoken to central bankers, we've spoken to NGOs, we've spoken to technology folk, we've spoken to engineers associations. We spoke to small business association. A lot more organizations are now getting the feeling, listen, there's something to this because the government and the prime minister have come out and said, well, things like narratives like we want to move from sugarcane to blockchain, right? And where's the
Yes,
NFTs that people don't quite understand what you're talking about because sometimes, even when I go and speak to some of the folk at University of West Indies that are involved in culture, they don't know what an NFT is.
that's all.
And there is, I have to say that I'm finding that there is not only globally, but even locally and regionally, there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of disinformation, and a lot of fake news, which really does not add value to young people when you're trying to encourage them from even at primary school to say, listen, there are opportunities here. Don't just do as well as you can and get your studies and get your honors degrees and everything else. But a lot of folks coming out of the university with high qualification and say, well, okay, so where's the job? We can't find a job. I mean, I didn't go and burst my brains to get an honors degree to go and disrespect the gas stations, but to go and pump gas, right? So what I'm trying to get over to people is listen, take some of that time that you're using when you're studying from primary school to secondary school up to university to understand this technology because there are many, many, many opportunities for startup businesses. I see blockchain and technology as transformation and as an opportunity to move away from a situation where we have lived in slavery all our lives, much of our lives, either emancipated but still in financial slavery. And now we have a rising cost of living, and all the experts are saying we're going to have a global recession next year and things are getting bad. I mean, we know what's happening in cost of living all over the world, and that impacts on our small economies in the Caribbean because we are also importing the inflation. So the prices are
Certainly.
going up. There's no funds that you can get. You're not earning anything from putting money on a bank. Things are getting a lot tougher. So what do you do when you have some disposable income? Because when you look around, things like mutual funds and other things like that, people think, oh well, this is a good investment opportunity. But when you put it in the context of raising cost of living, it really isn't. Because you now have to make more money to catch up with the cost of living. And these financial opportunities, as we see it, are not really quite getting us there. So because we're still behind the ball, we're still struggling to make our money make sense, and we're trying to educate young people. Listen, come on board, understand, get the awareness, get the education, and then let's work with the skills. Let's get the skills going. NFTs, fungible tokens, tokenization, GameFi, all of this stuff that you know brilliantly well, Simone.
Well, what do you find that the Ministry of Education is doing about bringing these new types of education tools within the schools? Because one thing we have to say, Caribbean people are very educated. We're educated, but are we educated in the right thing? So now we have these new markets in the Bahamas. We have the Digital Asset Registered Exchanges Act bringing all these companies, and they're looking for people who understand the market, understand NFT, understand blockchain. Do you know crypto? And everyone who applies for these jobs is like, well, I don't know much about it, but I'd like to learn about it. But where do we see where do we start? I mean, the education, our ministries of education, where's their focus should be? How come you haven't seen this as a class yet added to our curriculums in our schools? We're still pushing people to be doctors and lawyers and accountants and all of these things that we like to churn out. But where's our push to really delve our children in the right direction for this new emerging technology that we want to be a part of?
Well, I'm not sure that we're quite grasping it yet. I mean, there's some narratives out there, there's some little awareness and increasing awareness and that sort of thing, but we don't quite grasp. When Harlem Hope says this is a generational opportunity for wealth creation. These are new products and services that you can be learning about. We do need to start at the primary school level and work right through. But we're still stuck in this centralized way of education where you have to design a curriculum for everything. And you can't, in today's world of continuous change in technology, you can't spend 9 months and a year to develop a curriculum and hope it is a good curriculum when it's going to be outdated. But you need to fashion new ways of education that are really hands-on, you're taking the knowledge directly to the student. As you quite correctly said, I was talking to a 14-year-old the other day, and she was showing me how she was designing animation using her finger. I mean, this child is so extraordinarily talented, and we have so many talented young people in the Caribbean. In Barbados, we have singers, we have poets, but I keep saying we need to realize that we cannot just allow these folk to focus on a snow cone market that is a local market that is limited because everybody's selling snow cones and everybody's making snow cones. Okay, we have to look for a global market, and we have to train them and educate them for a global market. So you're correct. Yes, we need to have university systems looking at training these people in not just in computer science, but in the computer science that is relevant to the new companies that are coming out to provide them with the jobs. So, as you say, they don't just go to these companies and say, well, I'm interested in learning. Companies want people coming to them with knowledge so that they can hit the road and get running. And we are not really understanding the critical importance of this, the opportunities for creating generational wealth, the opportunities at the state level. If you follow the Michael Saylor, what I call the Michael Saylor model, the opportunity for companies to grow their treasuries and to make money. We have credit unions that got millions and millions and millions of dollars and no doing nothing. Right, not a whole lot. They're still doing the same old thing, the same old way, and the companies are still doing the same old thing, the same old way, because they will tell you this has worked historically, and we are not changing. We're not willing to change so much. So there's a lot of folk up there who are influencers, who are driving things, but the mindset is still stuck in the sand, and they're not prepared to open their minds to that. So education has to come. I think the opportunities at corporations. If you look at the whole question of tokenization, which is going to be a huge thing, and the head CEO of Nasdaq said in times to come, everything will be tokenized, and not only will it be tokenized, but you will be able to buy and sell instantaneously, right? So the world is changing dramatically, but we're still very much behind the ball in getting our education systems reformed and getting things out there. So what we're doing at our end is that we're doing a lot of all the talk, all the lectures and promotions and what's not. We talk to students, all that sort of thing. And we're also looking for funding. I think that's where the key is to find the funding for non-governmental organizations or charitable organizations or organizations that are willing to do things that the government isn't quite doing or they're not quite on the ball doing to provide the skills training for these young people from as young as primary school. And as I mentioned, I was there with a teenager up to the other night, and she doing a fantastic thing with animation. I said, well, okay, that's great. Now, what about animating some of this in terms of an NFT? What about digitizing your work? What about trying to get on a blockchain and marketing it out there? What about doing all of the other stuff that you have some of these great talents already? And we got some fantastic, we have fantastic poets, some of the best in the world, young, very talented individuals, young singers, young dancers, young painters. There are the odd individual painter in Barbados who has made 7,000 US dollars from an NFT, but there are the odd standouts. We need to really get more and more and achieve critical mass, both in terms of the education awareness and also in getting these folk developing their startup companies so they can be providing services to a global market.
Absolutely. When you look at the amount of, let's say, want to know more, to do more with the young people in our country, I think that we are really falling behind with supporting that, especially financially. So you mentioned about how do we find the funding. One thing that I find is that we don't really have funding mechanisms for these type of educational programs. And we're still struggling how to figure out how to fund our normal programs that the government offers to our citizenships every day. And these are some things that we talk about. You're a member in the Blockchain Caribbean Alliance. We talk about how we are going to be able to grow the knowledge and the support within the community, but where's the money coming from? And a lot of these companies who come to the Caribbean, one thing I don't see government telling them is put some money in our education fund so we could have some people involved in this business. So where should we be putting our focus? I mean, obviously in education, obviously in funding for these programs, and also should we be putting the fire right under the politician, opening the doors to our beautiful countries, but not making them put the responsibility and or having that tied into their entering into our countries because they make a lot of money being outside of the United States, and being within our in our spaces, but at the same time, where's the give back?
Right. So I think Bermuda had attempted to do some of that. And I think there's some of that mindset in terms of, okay, you're coming here, but you're not just coming here, we need you to do a give back and we need to contribute to what's happening in the community. The question is, are the politicians educated about specifically the areas that we need to educate young people in? All right, so I think we need to educate the politicians and the corporates as well, because they're the major companies in the Caribbean, and they're saying, well, okay, we're beginning to look at it, but how can you begin to look at something that you don't quite understand? Yeah, there are more organizations that are increasingly coming and saying to me, but I'm just one person, I was talking to the Accountants Association last evening, and they say, yeah, we want to do some stuff with you in the new year. I mean, I've been talking to students now at UW, for third year going. I've got the odd major secondary school coming to me and say, hi, Hallam, yeah, we're working, doing that work on the WhatsApp. Yeah, Hallam, we want to have some sessions going, and we're looking at stuff and that sort of thing. But we have to, I think, realize that we can't be on a government to do everything. We have to educate all those organizations that are service organizations, get them to understand the critical importance of this, the importance of the education and the importance of the skills training, and see if those organizations can now perhaps liaise with their friends in the business community, maybe a credit union here or another organization there or whatever, and get projects going. Don't just sit down and wait for the government. But at the same time, the government do need education, as you are fully aware, because you are in the area of regulation and legislation and policy and all that. And you know very well that you need to have a proactive, common sense policy that is relevant to the companies that are coming in here, and not just only focus up on um, how can we protect the consumer. Yes, the consumer needs protection, but as Senator Joseph Kennedy told Gary Gensler at the SEC, do you think that you're somebody's daddy? And Gensler said, no, Senator, I don't think I'm anybody's daddy. And Senator Kennedy said, so why do you act so? In other words, we don't want the regulators to think that they're there. Yes, they're there to protect the consumer, but overprotection is too bad. I mean,
Certainly.
what we need the regulator to do is to be backed with the policy and the legislation and all that stuff, good stuff that you're familiar with and you've been working with, to provide the innovation and the opportunities now for people to take advantage of what is available. It's coming fast and furious. There's so many opportunities in blockchain. You know all about them. There's trading and investing, which I find is fascinating because here you have the whales. The whales are waiting for the Bitcoin price to go to $16,000, go back to $15,000, $14,000, $12,000, and then they're going to load up. They're going to load
Yeah,
up
that's
because they're
right.
convinced that the price is going to go back to the November price of $69,000 and perhaps $100,000. So the whales understand this thing, and my thing is, why can't we educate some of the younger people, even from primary school to secondary school, to understand how the whales think? So even if you do not have the $50 million that the whales have, and you have $50 US or $100 US, at least you can still understand how the game is played, and you can get in there and learn and learn and learn and learn slowly and see how the opportunities are there, because cryptocurrencies and blockchain opportunities are clearly linked. I mean, you're not going to have any NFTs if you don't have cryptocurrency. There are a number of things you're not going to get into GameFi if you don't have cryptocurrencies. Okay, and I find it unfortunate that some very educated people, university educated people, will come and make comments like, "Oh, blockchain technology is not disruptive," and I shake my head and say, "Blockchain technology is not disruptive? Which world are you living in? Are you hiding under a
Thank
rock
you.
somewhere?" Or another chat
Honestly,
would say, I think the this thing of Bitcoin as an asset, is balderdash, it's rubbish. No, Michael Saylor got involved as a doctor in February, March 2000. Like most people, he was saying, I don't understand this thing. This has a lot of question mark. But you know that by August 2020, Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy were investing in Bitcoin big way. I think it's about $250 million they invested in August 2020. By August 2022, they had achieved a 101% return on investment because they were able to get and understand the nuances of Bitcoin, limited supply. There's going to be large demand for it. Yes, you're going to have the cycles from time to time, like stock markets. They all have cycles, right? But he was able to achieve a 101% return on investment. And not only that, they pushed their stock price substantially up, even higher than Apple and Google. So I think we need to look at these examples from a company point, a country point of view, and say, listen, we got some credit unions over there that got billions, millions and millions of dollars saying no, doing nothing with the money, right? Why can't
nothing.
we get an agreement with them whereby we could have a public-private sector partnership? They could get involved, invest like a Michael Saylor for the long term, not 3 months, 4 months, for the long term. Help us together grow some revenues, grow our sovereign fund, and then we can use some of those funds and earnings just as El Salvador is doing, to pump it back into those welfare elements of our economy, such as health, such as education. So I think there's opportunities there for governments, and they don't grasp it, they don't see it. I think there's similar opportunities there for large corporations, insurance companies, that can look at tokenization. And I certainly think that there are opportunities for us as individuals who have come out of a situation of slavery and who will continue to be financial slaves if in recessions, in increasing our cost of living, in limited education of the opportunities, in a lack of willingness and misinformation by persons who are influencers. I think we need to try to get out of that mold, and that I think there are opportunities for the younger generation, and for those like myself as well, who are seeing tangible results. I mean, the laptop that I am speaking with, that you're seeing that I am using, I bought that from profits from Bitcoin late last year. I paid a couple of bills and that sort of thing. I mean, so I'm not just selling this stuff as get rich quick. It's not get rich quick. There are a lot of scams out there. There are lots and lots of scams out there. There are a lot of business opportunities out there which I did not touch, like Terra Luna. I didn't get into Terra Luna. I didn't get into Celsius. I didn't get into Voyager. I didn't get into FTX. I don't have any FTT coins, but we have to get the education so we understand what to get into, what to avoid, what looks kind of funny, scammers, rug pullers, that sort of thing. They're all gonna be there. So we have to get education, education, education.
It's true. Education is the key to this thing. And when we have a lot of persons who are in charge of advising the government who are uneducated, that's where we get a lot of pushback when it comes to persons saying, "Oh, this is blockchain is a scam or crypto is a scam. It's not going to be around." Trust me, if you think future, if you're somebody who knows investment, if you're not somebody who can understand what how markets work and what the future holds in markets, or you have some vision, you would be in this industry. You would understand it. You would want to know about it because it's not going anywhere. It's going to be right here. And most people who are involved in it see the future, see the need, see the importance of being able to have decentralized technologies that allow people to commerce. What do we have struggles with right now in the Caribbean? We have struggles with banking who are de-risking. We have issues with transactions. We can't look at Trinidad, can't get US dollars. So we're putting ourselves in bad positions by not supporting the industry and helping our own self to come out of the doldrums of the remnants of the slavery mentality and help our people really realize wealth and the creation of it and how they can do it for themselves. And without that, man, we're gonna be a lost group of nations. I'm still listening to the old ways of doing business, which that makes no sense at this point. Inflation is killing us, left, right,
So
and center.
Simone, you come from a background where you're very much delved deep into the regulation, the legislation, what needs to be done, the specifics that really attract companies to the Caribbean and that sort of thing, right? I mean, I'm very keen, and perhaps we'll talk some other time about this, but what do you see needs to be done? Because clearly some of the countries and the governments do not quite get it. Others, like Bermuda and the Bahamas, seem to get it. They're pushing their regulations, their legislation. In the OECS with Dcash, we are seeing clearly the whole ethos of Dcash was that they won't say so, but the banks are too slow, they're insecure, they're not protecting our privacy, too many third parties and all that sort of thing. And the cash was actually designed by a bank, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, to rid itself of that and provide the citizens of the OECS with opportunity to actually be part of the financial system without having to go to a bank to say, well, I need a bank account. And the person said, well, so what do you have behind you? I mean, why should we give you a bank account? So the ECCB is working towards that. And also, if you look at what's happening in the Eastern Caribbean, some of those governments as well, you might be aware that Dominica signed on to Tron. So Tron is going to be the blockchain for Dominica. All right. Likewise, in St. Vincent, they're looking at doing very much the same thing. And I think St. Lucia as well. So some of these governments are slowly beginning to understand that there is value in the blockchain and in having policies. Dominica, for example, just made it law that the Tron network and blockchain is their national blockchain, right? So if a small country like Dominica with less than 100,000 people can realize that and recognize that, and St. Vincent and St. Lucia, some of these countries recognize that as well, I think that's a positive thing. But I see two rails actually. I see one rail with the CBDCs, which has going to have its issues, going to have its benefits. But I see another rail with blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and I see no reason why an organization like OECS and ECCB, and even national countries and governments cannot recognize. Listen, a CBDC is not going to do everything for everybody. and it has its challenges, like everything else. Every technology and system has its challenges. So we need to have all these systems available. We need to be into the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies. We need to be into the CBDCs. We're going to continue to have the banking. We're going to continue to have cash. We're going to still move away from cash, and we're going to provide our citizens with all of the opportunities that they can now get educated and choose from what can work for them. you know?
You know, from a regulatory perspective, I think that yes, Bermuda and the Bahamas has been at the forefront of bringing in the industry within our ecosystem. And there are challenges with that because a lot of the companies that they are coming. So Bermuda has a very different approach. Bermuda approaches it in a way where they allow companies to come at an infancy stage or at its maximum operation stage. So they have a three license approach when it comes to the industry. They do insurance, they do insure tech, they do financial technology, they do just technology. They're looking at decentralized autonomous organizations. They're looking at the whole gambit of the industry and saying, listen, you can come here to Bermuda, set up shop, and operate. But the difficulty that is happening with that is that these companies are coming, and yet there is still a disconnect within the island itself. You still don't have products and services that the local persons can utilize easily, agilely, and be able to be a part of this ecosystem. So it's running away from the country. And versus with the Bahamas, they focused on having digital financial technology companies come within this space, open up exchanges, opening up these financial products, and they are growing so fast that the regulator may not have enough persons to really monitor these things. And so you have these issues that arise. And so I mean, there is a need for, yes, these governments seem to get it, but at the same time, they still have shackles on the people locally. We still have exchange control rules in the Bahamas that stops Bahamians from even having accounts outside of the Bahamas or transacting in foreign currencies. You
Right.
mentioned the CBDCs. We have some players in the market who the central bank has says, listen, if you have a platform that people can send digital currency across from each other, you can only use a CBDC to do that. But nobody uses a CBDC. Why? Because you can't spend it nowhere else. If I don't get paid in it and I can't spend it outside of my country, what benefit does it give to me? How am I going to be able to grow my investment base, grow my financial base in this currency? And yet you're telling me you're going to try and do away completely with dollars, and now I'm only going to be able to utilize this one currency and not be able to transact outside of the country. Stop. And so it's not, I don't think we think out through a lot of the things that we get involved in. And if we were a little bit more tuned in to the our younger generation and wanting to really embrace information from people who know what's going on in the industry and put them to the forefront so that we could be educated about these things, I think we'd be a lot further. But we
So
don't
here's
fit
the
that
thing.
approach.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Simone. One thing that we need to educate the governments about and the politicians is that it can be a win-win situation for everyone. All right. You provide the opportunities and the education and training and beef up that so that persons and individuals, as young as they are, can develop products and services, not just the trading and investing, but products and services for global market. Right? They get paid essentially foreign currency or whatever cryptocurrency that they then have to change into a local domestic currency. And then they're going to be using those funds to buy services and to pay value added tax or support a system so that the government, so that it's growing, individuals are growing, I mean, they're not dependent, they're not shackled to government welfare system, which benefits the government, So the government stand to benefit from actually earning from the innovation and providing the opportunity for individuals to go out there and tap into a global market.
Yeah.
If I buy a laptop here in Barbados from profits I've made from cryptocurrency trading and investing, I've got to pay value added tax. And that value added tax goes to government's coffers. So government should be facilitating understanding the benefits and not only focusing on thinking about, okay, can the consumer be hit by this or hit by that? How do we protect the consumer? How do the thing is we should be providing, how do we provide the consumer with the opportunity to earn, be
That's right.
financially reliant, all right, and to recover those funds and plow them back into the local economy.
Yeah, hold on, but that's what government is here for, right? Government is really meant to create the environment for their citizens to excel. And we're not experiencing that as citizens in the Caribbean at the moment, because our governments are focused on how can they better their coffers at the end of the day to do more of the things they think is beneficial to us, when what's beneficial to us is prospering. That's what's going to benefit us. We need to be able to prosper on global markets. In the
Yeah.
Bahamas, we're not allowed to invest outside of the Bahamas. We can't take our money and go and then do these things. So I could be having sand dollar all day. I can have thousands of dollars come into my sand dollar account, but I
Millions
can't
of sand
spend it.
dollars. You could have more
You
sand
know,
dollars than sand.
thank you. All I can do is spend it on the sand. That's in the
You know?
Bahamas. And everything have to be imported. So if we're not focusing on creating economies right on our islands, where food is the issue, where food security is at the forefront of that, where industry is at the forefront of that, then we wasting time with these
So what do we
CBDC.
do? What do we need to do, Simone? Do we need more Simones and Halams and lots of other folk
True.
educating? I mean, we have a radio program twice a week on a leading Caribbean Barbados station that goes to some Caribbean islands as well. Twice a week, and we bring all this information, top quality, latest information to these individuals. We're writing in the media. I think I'm just a little guy by the side, and we're just small individuals. But I think we need to have more persons educated, so we have a larger cadre of folk who are going public, who understand, not like the professor on the hill who's not doing his homework, but who understand what's going on and who is reaching out to a younger generation that is looking for opportunities in their teen age years. So I think we need more critical mass at a grassroots level to get the right information, get the right education, understand the opportunities, understand the tricks and the traps and all the bad things, and to put that information out there to people. And more and more, I think we will grow an understanding of the opportunities. And more people say, well, yeah, I want to hear more about this. I want to do this. I want to put some money into this. I want to see what this can do for me.
Hello, man. I could talk to you all day about this.
Yeah.
This is meant to be a 30-minute show.
Okay.
And I wanted to just say, let me give you a last 30 seconds to just wrap up what about our last question. So the last question I have for you, what does the future hold for us in the Caribbean when it comes to this industry, and what part should we be playing in the blockchain industry in the Caribbean?
Well, I think that depends very much on Simone. Simone has taken the time and invested the time to understand things like regulation, legislation, policy, and that sort of thing, which is ever so critical. I mean, it has to start clearly with government implementing these things, but implementing them in a wise, common sense way, dealing with regulations in a proper way, not being too afraid of the Financial Action Task Force, and understanding the harm that organizations like that can cause to us with limited economies here. But again, we need to educate and promote and see if we can get to talking to the teenagers, the primary school children, the secondary school children. Work with these student organizations and student groups. Work with organizations like the Engineers Association, the Small Business Association. Work with all of these organizations and slowly grow their proper understanding of what's going on, because they're not going to get it from the university professors on the hill, and they're not going to get from the corporate leaders who are too busy running their insurance and other businesses. And we also need to try to see where possible we can educate the politicians, educate the corporate leaders, the influencers into understanding the real opportunities. And I think that if we do a good, decent enough job with some of these folk, and they begin to get it, they will become like another Michael Saylor. And they will say, look, yeah, I have my doubts and uncertainties about this thing, but I know see how this can work. Let me try this. Credit unions have tons and tons of money out there. You need to try and get the word out to these guys. Listen, just sitting on your millions and millions of dollars isn't helping the economy. You got to invest some of this. You got to invest in education, invest it financially. Look at public-private sector partnerships and see where you guys can get together and make some money from a global market.
Our wealth certainly lies right within our people.
Correct.
Truly, truly lies within our people. Well, I really appreciate your time, Halam. I look forward to speaking to you again on our next episode. We can talk more and more and more about this topic. But thank you so much for your time today. And to our viewers, please stay tuned for our next episode and like our page on YouTube and on Facebook and join the movement. Tech Hour in the Caribbean is here to stay. We have to keep this conversation going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.